love riding my bike. I love running. I don't care what they think about it. I love it.
At that point, when I knew I was going to win, chills just went up and down my entire body.
I don't believe there are any good or bad foods. Food is food.
I still feel so passionate about getting that record that I'm like, I'm just going to do it.
As an athlete, I was like, what's my story, or what's your story? What can you learn from it? And what can you teach people?
Welcome to the IronWomen podcast. I'm Haley Chura. I'm joined by my co-host, Alyssa Godesky. Hi, Alyssa.
Hi, Haley.
And this week we have a special third guest for the show part. We have Lydia Russell, fresh off her national championship with the Arizona Wildcats. Hi, Lydia.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Lydia, it's so exciting to have you with us this week. How are you feeling? Have you been celebrating since the race?
Yeah, the evening after the race was pretty exciting. We all went out to dinner and had a big celebration. And then I flew home after that. So I'm actually not with my team right now. So I'm a little bit bummed that I'm
Wait,
missing
where
some
is
of their-
home?
Philadelphia.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you went home and we should also mention that you are a podcast editor, so you are back to work.
Yeah.
Lydia, I have to say I'm dying to hear about the race itself, but let's talk a little bit maybe about the days leading into the race. Haley got a bit of a scoop, right? Where we realized that the race was going to be kind of a non-traditional format. In those days with the swim being on Friday and then the bike and the run being raced on Saturday. So can you just talk a little bit about that from your individual athlete perspective and what did you think when you heard that news? And then two, what were you, kind of coached to, how were you approaching the race then when it was going to be split over 2 days?
Yeah, I feel like once we found out there was going to be an open water swim and it wouldn't be a pool swim, because that was originally what they were saying the most likely thing was, I was really happy because I just can't hang on the flip turns. My flip turns are so bad. People get half a body length on me on each flip turn.
And you're tall.
Yeah, it's just really sad. So once I heard it was an open water swim, I was kind of like, okay, it's just like a 24-hour intermission between the swim and the bike. So I wasn't really too worried about it. I mean, our coach was kind of preparing us for all the possible scenarios and strategizing a little bit. But yeah, I kind of went into it thinking of it almost as a normal race.
Because you did line up for the swim on Friday. You lined up almost like a normal race, right? You just didn't have a transition set up, I guess. You were just going to swim. Did you go harder than you normally would?
I feel like a little bit. I think some people really went all out. I think unfortunately and fortunately for me, I just kind of am a one pace wonder. I just go. I don't really have more speed to give than my regular 750 speed. So I just kind of did what I normally do. It was nice to not have to worry about getting on the bike, but you could see some girls, the girls who have the really high VLA max, they can just go really hard for a short period of time. They were girls like that sitting on the beach after, because they can just get themselves to really generate that lactate. I'm not one of those people, so I just hung on with my teammates as hard as for as long as I could.
And then that 24-hour intermission, what was that like? Were people, I assume your coach was kind of looking at swim times, right? And maybe strategizing a little bit. What were you all doing? Were you just kind of lying around and resting, eating? What kind of happened in that 24 hours?
Yeah, we were just hanging out. It was, again, kind of normal, because normally you'd have the course familiarizations and then you would go back and hang out and chill out. So again, it was kind of normal in a way, because you're going and doing something and you come back and think about the race. Some of my teammates were super into strategizing, talking about every possible outcome with every girl, and every time and how the groups could shake out. And I don't know, I was just kind of okay, I have these people, I'm going to work together with my teammates. And that's kind of how I am in general. I'll think about it, I'll run through everything I need to do, and then I'm okay, that's enough. I'm going to set that aside, because otherwise I stress out too much. But I think for some people, they want to know every possible scenario.
And so on day 2, you have to start the race in your socks, right? And like without shoes on, and you had to run 180 meters to your bike. And
Yeah.
then you get, then you would do the bike and the run. So this is like not even a traditional like duathlon, or I'm thinking of how we started in Chattanooga where we're like on our bike clipped in. You actually did have to transition. What was that like?
Yeah, again, talking about not playing to my strengths. I thrive
You're
on the
a
like
good
come out.
runner. I would think you would like more running.
Right, but like I'm a good runner when I'm a little bit fatigued and I can still run fast, whereas like everybody else is fatigued and they're like, okay, that's like impeding their running abilities. A 180-meter dead sprint to your bike is like my
That's gonna
worst
be so
nightmare.
painful. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was not. I shouldn't have worn socks, honestly. I was like felt like my feet were slipping because dry socks on dry pavement was kind of terrible. Um, yeah, I mean it was fine.
And so you
The
got on the
most
bike, how it looked like how it played out because you did start, it was a pursuit. So you start that 180-meter run based off of your swim time and dash your bike, get out. It looked from, I actually had my athlete Sam had raced the aquathon, but she didn't make, she just did the 5K because she flew in too late. But so kudos to USAT for doing that, even for age groupers. But she actually FaceTimed me during the NCAA race so I could watch it. But from what I could see from that vantage point, that there was a breakaway group and then there was like a massive group and then some like smaller groups behind. Is that how it felt for you?
Yes. So there was like the front group with, I mean, I would say it wasn't really a breakaway. It was just like the girls who swam really fast, like the girl who came out of the water from TCU, who was like way out front, and then a few of my teammates who all kind of came in together. I think there were three of them who literally like all swam on each other's feet, and then a few other girls who were like in that. And I think that was kind of expected. Like we knew that was going to be a pack because they're just like all super good swimmers. Yeah, and then there was a massive pack, which is what I was hoping to end up in. That did not work out. But yeah, that's where the rest of my team was. And then I was back somewhere else in a third pack.
I heard a lot of "Go Lydia" cheers just from the sidelines, and then tell me about this run. So you get on the run, and I mean, spoiler alert for our listeners, it looks like you had a really good run. Are you knowing what team position? Is someone able to keep track of like where people are and the team scores mid-race? Are you getting that kind of information?
No, I could see where well, to be fair, we had enough people in the top 10. Like I could see like our girls. Like I knew we had one in second or third, and that we had one right behind her and one like a couple spots back. So like I could see that our team was doing pretty well, but then I didn't really know where the ASU girls were or the Queens girls. Um, and yeah, I was glad to be on the run and finally have something that felt like normal, like get off the bike, run hard. It was very normal feeling compared to the rest of it.
And so you finished 21st, right? Fastest run split, I think 16:59, 5K.
Wow.
I heard it was very hot and humid. How do you feel about your own race?
I feel really good about my run. My swim was okay. I got like punched or elbowed in the nose and like thought I broke my nose for a second. So I was like trying to stay on my teammate's feet, and then suddenly I took an elbow to the nose and went like shooting back. So that wasn't ideal. But everyone was like, "Oh, your swim was good." So I was like, "Okay, maybe my swim was good." And the bike was just an absolute mess for me. So I did not feel good about that. And I came off the bike like onto the run. And I was like, "Well, I just have to make up some spots now." And at the time when I came off the bike, I was like, "Oh my God, if my team doesn't win, it's because of me." But luckily, we still did win. So yeah, it was mentally a tough race. I was really happy with my run in the end, though, to like show that I could still do something well, even like despite everything that was happening.
As a team, did you girls expect to be in that position fighting for the win? What were kind of, was it a surprise vibe afterwards, or was it like, heck yes, we knew that we could pull this off?
I think we definitely knew we could pull it off. I mean, that was like our whole thing, like all year, was that we could win. Yeah, I think like something would have had to go like really wrong for us to not at least be like close to winning. I mean, it's never certain like who's going to win, and ASU and Queens are both really strong. So, of course, like on any given day, depending on like how the places shake out, especially in a different format like this, that's like something we've never done before. But I mean, yeah, I think it was definitely like emotional and like surprising because it's something none of us have ever experienced before. But it was also like we knew we had it in us.
It was a big win. ASU's won the last 6 years in a row at the Division I championship. So does that feel a little extra good because they are your interstate rivals?
Yeah, I think like we wanted like my coach Wes when he started the team, like he wanted to build a team that could rival ASU and like be one of the best. And I think clearly he's done that because we did it. So I think that feels really good to show that like we've all contributed to being part of this thing that like I guess like to make something that's really big and like bigger than ourselves even. Yeah.
You know, with college teams, with any sport, right, there's going to be changes. People graduate, people come on board, that sort of thing. What does the future of triathlon look like for the Wildcats?
I think the future looks really good. I mean, we don't have like a ton of new people coming in next year. I think we'll only have like one or maybe two, but honestly, like with the team we have now, we're graduating two or three. It's not like certain yet, but there's so many girls on the team like who could have been on that um championship roster. Like our third on our team, who is sixth place, she wasn't even certain she was racing until the week before because that's how strong our team is, that like she was a question mark of whether she should be the one to race or not. So we had our alternate there who was just as strong, like on a good day could have gotten that sixth place or seventh place somewhere in the top 10. And she wasn't even racing. And then we have more who are at home. We have a girl with a broken collarbone who easily could have been in the top 10. We have so many. So I think the future looks really good.
Lydia, remind me what year you are.
That is the $1,000,000 question, Haley.
Are you the question mark of if you're going to?
Well, I do feel like I've said this to someone, I'm like, with the like, you know, the COVID years and just how NCAA eligibility is a little bit different than when I was in college. I feel like I know I am like, how many years of eligibility are we at for you? Are you coming back next year or are you finished with collegiate sports? What is your status?
Um, I'd love to know. That's going to be my project when I get back to Tucson is to go sit down with compliance and figure that out, read the NCAA bylaws, go kind of full lawyer on the situation. Because I don't know, like there's not a lot really written about the COVID year. So technically I have one more year of eligibility from the COVID year, even though this is only the second year I've competed in the NCAA for anything. I didn't ever actually compete when I was running because I was injured. Um, but yeah, a lot of those years just got wasted because of time passing. Um, that actually, yeah, was the answer to I think what you guys were saying on the podcast last week about like, could you enter the NCAA at an advanced age?
I'm 39 years old.
Alyssa,
No, you
wheels are
can't.
spinning.
you
Once
can't.
you start college anywhere, even if you're in like a different country, your clock starts. So your 5-year clock starts rolling. So we have girls who like one of our people who's graduating this year, she came from Hungary. So she did a 3-year undergrad in Hungary and then came here and only had 2 years left to compete because her clock started when she entered any sort of higher education system.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up for us. As we,
Yeah.
I mean,
My
you're
dreams are
dashing.
dashed, but it's okay.
Well, congratulations to you, Lydia, and to your Wildcat team. I hope you are celebrating. I hope you can go back to Arizona eventually. I mean, enjoy your family time and then get back to Arizona and properly celebrate. But I mean, regardless of your NCAA eligibility, you are still racing triathlon. And I think you have aspirations outside of the NCAA.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll be also training in Arizona no matter what. And luckily, after you graduate, you can still train with the team. So if you're like an alum, so I'll be doing that regardless. So it really doesn't change much. It's just whether I can race for Arizona next year.
Well, thank you again for joining us today and congratulations. And we, those Division I results, first place, Arizona, second place, Arizona State, and third place, Queen's University. And then Division II had a new champion this year, Wingate. Lenore Ryan, last year's champions, were second and Drury was third. And then Division III, North Central College. That's like several years in a row for them, I think. And Haley Poe, who was on the podcast years ago, won another national championship, which I think was very, it might be 4 years in a row. I should have looked that up, but incredible career she's had in Division III. And then Trine was second and Central College third. So very fun to watch that develop, that NCAA, and kudos to that race director and USA Triathlon for figuring out that canceled swim situation where it wasn't canceled, just a little creative. Lydia, thank you again for all your editing work, and we'll let you go, but good luck. Enjoy your recovery.
Thanks for having me on. See you guys when I edit this, not in person, but I'll hear you guys. Bye.
Thanks, Lydia. Bye. Well, Haley, it was really cool to get to hear kind of some insight firsthand from Lydia as she is literally fresh off of that race. I have to admit, I am a little sad that my NCAA dreams will not be coming true anytime soon, but that doesn't mean I can't be a huge fan of NCAA triathlon. I think it seems like, yeah, it's moving in the right direction. I think I'm kind of excited. We have a new Division I champion this year. I think it's nice to see a little bit of a mix up there. I think it's probably a natural progression of things as other teams are getting stronger and kind of figuring out that magic formula to putting it together. And
ASU,
like Lydia said, I mean, her coach, came to Arizona with like the mindset of building a championship team. And if there was going to be a great place to do that, University of Arizona was going to be a top pick.
yeah, and ASU has led the way in building the NCAA triathlon. I know that their former assistant coach was, I think the whole NCAA women's triathlon was part of her master's thesis. And I know I've met one of their associate athletic directors who was instrumental in really pushing for other teams. Like they wanted rivals. And so it's cool to see that they now have them. And the individual national champion for Division I, Naomi Ruff, was from Arizona State. So still a great interstate rivalry, and not a bad day for the Sun Devils either. But congratulations to everyone who did race. Congratulations to people who raced the aquathon for USAT who was there. Thank you to everyone who cheered. And again, to my athlete, Sam, who gave me the play-by-play because I really wanted to be there. I really wanted to see what happens. And the live streaming, I couldn't quite find a live stream, but a lot of the teams, individual teams, were like live streaming. But I think at that Lake Louisa State Park, the service was a little in and out. And so I was watching like several different live streams. Denver and Arizona, I think, had live streams. And Drury at one point, I was like switching between them. And then finally Sam just FaceTimed me and I was like, oh, thank you. So, I mean, it's multiple laps, so you get to actually see quite a bit. And it was very fast because it was just bike and run, but very cool. And again, congratulations. And then Alyssa, it is still a race week this week for a big race. T100 Dubai is happening this weekend.
I am excited to see Dubai is serving as the championship race for T100 this year, correct? Okay.
Yes. So it is going to be it's a big race and lots of points, those year-end bonuses on the line. There have been some changes to the start list. And one of those changes is Chelsea Sodaro, who is our interview this week. And, Chelsea does start off that interview by telling me that she's not racing in Dubai, but she will be there. So she has some thoughts. She has some thoughts on how the race could play out. So we have a fun chat coming up. But I think before, we just wanted to acknowledge our mailbag before we get into that, right?
Oh yeah. So we still have a few questions in the mailbag. So if you've written in, we'll be getting to those in the next few weeks. The holiday season is one of our favorite mailbag seasons. So please fill that bag up for us completely. You can send in your questions to ironwomenpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. And I have one other small PSA. So if anyone's listening, because I will not be going to Dubai this weekend, I'm a little sad about that, but I actually think I'm 90% sure I'm going to pull this off, but I think I'm going to go spectate at Ironman Arizona, which is an age group only race. It's an age group only race. It's just a little bit closer. And I have some friends and at least one athlete. I have one athlete racing, Christina, who coincidentally broke her hand in a mountain biking accident in June and is back racing in Ironman this weekend. And so there's a little bit of as a coach, I'm so proud of her, but then I'm also like, oh my goodness, she's hopefully future me. There's parts of me that I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't imagine, doing what she's doing. And then I can look at her training plans and I'm like, she has built her way back. And it is really, really cool. So there's some poeticness in that. And I have a few friends from Bozeman who are racing. And so the opportunity presented itself. It was, it never happens, Alyssa, where you like look up, like, let me look and see how this flight is. And then it's like shockingly reasonable. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? So, so if anyone does see me in Arizona, anyone who listens is there, you know, please say hi. I'll just be there cheering and hopefully not spending too much time on my feet. I gotta like keep myself like restrained.
Wait, are you not supposed to spend a lot of time on your feet while your hands
Well, I have
recover?
I have a hurt
Oh, your
knee too.
knee.
I
Yeah,
have a
your
bruised
knee still.
patella.
The
So
MRI came back cleared in my head. I was like, woo! All right. But then I'm like, oh yeah, it actually still could hurt really bad.
I mean, I'm just not quite back running. I did start
Okay.
PT. I started PT for that, and I'm cleared to walk, and I'm okay with. I just am not back running, which also I'm not running because of my hand, because of the fall risk still,
Okay.
and just like the injuring that more. So
Yeah,
there's
so be careful about that more. Yeah.
the fall risk. I know. Well, I have
Yeah.
this neon pink splint, so hopefully, like no one bumps into me either. So it's just like
Everyone wave from afar and then just yell.
Yes. Well, the Arizona is such a good spectator course. Like you
It's
can
the
literally
best
sit in
spectating
one
course.
spot and
Yeah, it's
see
so
people
good.
so many times. So,
Yeah.
and it's warm, and I just feel like I'm missing some of that triathlon vibe a little bit. And I mean, you know this, like when you're away from it for a while, like you miss it. And I'm hopeful that in some capacity this will help me, you know, just feel a little bit better and increase my motivation a little bit better to get healthy and, you know, figure out my position in the sport how it still exists. But yeah, so hopefully that's something to look forward to.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm trying to think then. Okay, so are you traveling during the T100? What's your travel schedule compared to your
I think
spectating
T100 will be
virtually?
done. The women's race will be done by the time I get on the plane, because I get
Okay,
on the
so
plane
you're
very
flying
early.
Saturday. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to download it so I could like watch it on the plane. I do not think I will be at. I mean, I might be up at 11:30. I hope I don't stay up all that night, because that is going to make for very
Yeah, that's a
challenging.
hard day.
It would just be like no sleep for 3 days, which I feel like is not a good idea when you're like
No.
trying to regrow bone. But yeah, so that's, I might be watching a replay, but I can't wait to watch. And I guess I can get right into our interview. Are we there?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, so Chelsea Sodaro, the 2022 Ironman world champion, is our guest today. And Chelsea also had a great year this year. She won Ironman New Zealand, and she returned to the Ironman World Championship podium with a third place finish in Nice. Chelsea tells me about this year. She tells me about the major changes she made, which included a mid-year coaching change, living location change, and also big bike sponsor change. And she also talks about just how life has changed a little bit in ways that are unexpected, and how it hasn't changed in ways that she expected it would since winning that 2022 Ironman World Champion. She talks about the decisions she makes when she decides to work with a sponsor or not work with a sponsor. She does give me an injury update on her injury that she had this summer, and why she isn't racing in Dubai, but hopefully she will be there, possibly on the commentary team. So we will cross our fingers that she shows up on that commentary team if we are awake watching. And just like the different ways that she wants to still fire herself up to accomplish things in the sport, whether performance-wise, winning Kona again, or also off the playing field or race course in other areas of life. And it's a great conversation. So you can hear my full conversation with Chelsea Sodaro right after a word from our sponsors. Hi, Chelsea. Welcome back to the IronWomen podcast.
Hi, friend. It's so great to catch up with you.
I know we've been able to see each other in person a few times this year, but it's still really cool to talk to you on the podcast, because it's been a few years and a lot has happened. I mean, your life moves very fast, and unfortunately mine has moved fast lately. I kind of wish it would slow down a little bit, and well, it has, just on purpose. But before we get into all that, I think I need to ask, like, I was looking at the start list for T100 Dubai this morning, and you were still on it. And so I know you've been dealing with some injuries. You did not race in Vegas, but what are the plans for Dubai?
Yeah, I won't be racing in Dubai. I'm still coming out of the other side of Nice. Like, I'm finally starting to train a little bit, but not 100%. So I'm not going to race in Dubai, but I will be there cheering everybody on. And
are you on the commentary team?
I don't know if I'm on the commentary team yet. We'll see if they decide to put me on it. I hope they do, just because I feel like that's a good contribution I can make to the sport when I'm able. But yeah, I don't totally know the plans, but I will be there looking
All
pretty,
right.
talking triathlon for a week.
That's cool. I'm glad you still get to go. I mean, assuming you feel like you're up for traveling, and have you been to Dubai before?
I have never been to Dubai, so it'll be an experience for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they need to put you on that commentary team. I want to talk more about the commentary because you did get to commentate in Vegas and Nice, but I actually want to focus a little bit more on your racing first. And you mentioned your current status coming out of Nice. How are you going into Nice? I mean, I don't think you were 100% healthy going into that. This is the Ironman World Championships this year.
Yeah, I had a tough, I guess, couple months lead into that race. I had a little accident and cracked my patella. And then when I was training on that knee injury, I gave myself a compensatory injury on the other side. So I didn't really start running until about 2.5 weeks before the Ironman World Championships. And it turns out that makes for a very difficult marathon.
But at
So,
254 and you ran yourself into third place. Wait, okay, tell me about this patella injury. Like, because again,
yeah,
I have an injured patella at the moment. So mine came
it's
from
painful.
crashing.
No,
Mine came from crashing at T100 Vegas. But yours, I think, came in the gym.
mine came in the gym. Yeah, I had a kettlebell accident, unfortunately, and it was really sore initially, but I didn't think much of it and trained on it and even raced on it in London at the T100. And then it was pretty sore after that, and my Achilles was pretty sore, so got some imaging done, and it turned out things were not so awesome. So I had to take a week kind of totally off. I think this was a month out from Nice, 4 or 5 weeks out from Nice, and then had like a 3 week block of training, had, one real proper run workout before Nice, and then it was on to race day. And I think the crazy thing for me and the thing that gives me a lot of confidence is I really believed on the starting line there that I had a shot to contend. And I think that was maybe a little far-fetched considering, how the marathon went and how like my legs handle the pounding of a marathon. But I have learned that one of the hardest things about kind of championship racing is really bringing that competitive mindset and that competitive spirit and belief, and that's half the battle. And I really feel like I won that battle and brought such a good version of my mental game to that race. And so I'm excited to see what's possible when I'm fully healthy and have kind of consistency in so many things next season that I didn't really have this year.
You've had these issues for several months. If you're going back to London, London was in July, the World Championships in September. So the kettlebell accident happened before London. You did finish 8th there, and I saw you on the run. I thought it looked great, but obviously
Thanks.
we're not, doing a little bit more damage than we all knew. But when you're off, what are you doing to give yourself that confidence? You're like, I'm going to be able to contend, even though I haven't had the perfect build. What kind of sessions do give you confidence?
Yeah, I think some of it was the sessions. I made a big coaching change this year and started working with Neil Henderson 3 weeks before London, and he's really reinvented my training and also done a lot of like the education piece about explaining why we do certain workouts and why certain stimulus benefit you in various ways and why you do specific training for certain events or for a certain type of physiology. And his approach has been so thoughtful, and he's been able to explain it really well to me, and I could see myself improving. And I also work very closely with Dr. David Spindler, who is my sports psych neuroscientist guy. And he was actually in Nice with me, along with my strength coach, Matt Pendola. And I had so much fun. Like I had so much fun being on the course and with my team. And I was really surrounded by these awesome dudes who were kind of building me up. And I think in a lot of ways I felt like, not to be dramatic, but I felt like a little beaten down the last couple of years. And it was a great, I don't know, eye opener to see, wow, like there are some people who are so supportive of me and what I'm trying to accomplish. And even when things aren't perfect, they still have so much belief, and they don't want anything back from me. Like, they're there because they love me and they want to be a part of what I'm doing, what we're doing together, but it's not transactional. I think so many relationships in sport, they feel like people are just trying to get things from you. And in this case, I felt just like really lifted.
That beat down feeling, I'm assuming that came off of your 2022 Ironman World Championship win. Was it hard to come off of that, or harder than you expected?
I think in so many ways I wasn't, in a lot of ways, right, I worked my entire career for that moment. And then in other ways, I wasn't like prepared for what came after that, or like the expectations that came from other people. Like, I'm so used to having such high expectations for myself, but suddenly, like, you're being watched so closely, and the moment you're not perfect, you're kind of written off. And I felt like sort of picked apart in a lot of ways. And of course, I've been pretty vocal about the causes that I believe in, care about, both inside of the sport and outside. And I think that lends itself to a different level of criticism. And then I do think there's an element of like being a female athlete and being a strong woman that makes some people very uncomfortable. And maybe I've like felt the pushback of that a bit.
And it's easy for us to look at this and be like, oh, she's won the world championships, the pinnacle. You don't have any problems after that. But it probably does create an environment, I imagine, where when you go to a race, the only good result is winning.
Yeah. And I think for me, the only good result is winning. That's what I expect from myself. And sometimes that's realistic and sometimes it's not. But what I'm also good at is finding the wins, even if I don't cross the finish line first. And what was really eye-opening for me was the race in London. I finished 8th, which I probably raced to my, fitness level there. Like, I didn't hit it out of the park and I didn't totally suck, but, it wasn't a flashy result. And in the past, I would have had that result, and the feedback from, some people on my team, it would have been, what happened? Whereas I got back to my phone after the race and I had this message from Neil, and it was like, that's such a great starting point. Here are all the things you did well. This is such a great place to build on. Here's how we're going to move forward from this. And I'm so excited for these next couple of months of training leading into Nice. And that messaging is very, very different than, what I felt for the past couple of years. And just gave me a lot of excitement. And at the end of the day, right, we're all humans and we have feelings, and we're like impacted by results, good and bad, and the people around us. And I, like, in that moment, I was like, man, I've really like made such a good choice here.
And making a coaching change like you did this year, I mean, it's not like the beginning of your year was bad. You started your season in January at Porta Taronga half. You finished second. You won Tasmania 70.3 the next month, and Ironman New Zealand in March. I think you won that in like record time with a penalty. So you were having a really good start of the season, but then you made a lot of changes. And so when you are getting results that to the casual viewer seem really good, how do you know you still need to make a change?
Yeah, I put a lot of thought into all of the choices that I make around my work. And I also know when it's time to move on. And I think that is like a really important skill in sport and in business, when you know that something is no longer serving you or your business or your work, that you need to make a change. And that's always been, I think, a strength for me, is that I'm just not afraid of what could happen like on the other side of that. And I'm like generally optimistic about my own abilities and how I will handle like any sort of, big change like that. And that's why I made it during the middle of the year, because I felt like I was not on the right path. I did not feel like the programming I was getting was appropriate for my goals or the kind of athlete that I was. And I had some people that I trust look at my training, and they also agreed that I really wasn't on the right path to improvement and getting better. And I think it would have been, easy for me to just kind of continue with what I was doing and hope that I could achieve like similar results that I had in the past. But for me, it's always about like pushing my own limits and improving and getting better. And that's what gets me out the door in the morning. It's not like doing what I've done before. Of course, like in endurance sport, consistency is everything. But sometimes having a new stimulus is really great too.
Did anyone tell you were crazy?
I think initially my husband was a little concerned because he can like see the look in my eye when I want to make a change. And that makes him nervous. He's more conservative than me in that way. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of time for him to see the light.
And let's talk, okay, the coaching change, obvious when we've been talking about coaching change, changing to Neil Henderson. And you also moved your family from Reno, Nevada to Boulder, Colorado. And that change, the coaching change is one thing. And like, yes, maybe your workouts are different, but like that really impacted your entire family.
Yeah. It's been such a wonderful move for our family. And initially we were thinking of moving back to California. That's where our families are. And we have a lot of friends and community in the Bay Area. But I was on a photo shoot for the Tour de France feed commercial. And the feed is based here in Broomfield. And I was hanging out with all these amazing people who live in Boulder. And I called Steve and I was like, what do you think about looking at Boulder? And he got on Zillow or whatever, and our like very dear friend and my former training partner, Sarah Piano, is a realtor here. And so I think we called her on a Wednesday and he flew here on a Thursday and we were in contract on Saturday. This is how we roll. This is how we roll. But you know what? When I just think like sometimes when something feels right, you have to go for it. Like life is short and it's been such a great change for us. Like we already had so many friends and I had like plenty of people to train with already here. And we just live on this beautiful neighborhood and have space, and our kid is in an awesome preschool. And I think maybe now I'm feeling some of the changes. Like I'm just still recovering from this crazy year that we've had. And I'm now reckoning with that, like from a fatigue standpoint. But overall, it's been amazing. And more than like, I think it's been great for my work and just like general happiness of having more people to train with and being in such a beautiful place with easy access to training grounds. But for our, personal life outside of sport has been wonderful.
I've just finished reading Ina Garten's book, Be Ready When the Luck Happens. And this is like, there's so many good quotes in that book. And I feel like it really, what you're saying too, kind of embodies it. And I've been taking a lot from that for my own situation, just being able to embrace opportunities when they happen. Right. And like, I think I don't want to ruin the book, but like a lot of the thesis is like, from the outside, it looks like she's an incredibly lucky person, but even she considered herself an incredibly lucky person. But she's also someone who works really, really hard, who will get things done, and will seize opportunities when they happen, even when they seem a little unconventional. And so I feel like that's what you're describing. The other big change was also a big bike sponsor change. And I think that one caught a lot of people off guard. Your previous sponsor was a very, very popular brand. And I'm assuming something worked better with another brand, or is it a financial decision? What all goes into that?
Yeah, I am under NDA, so I can't speak of the specifics of the situation. I'm not sponsored by a bike company right now. I'm just riding what I choose to at the moment. I think separately from that situation, I've learned a lot about myself and my priorities and the kind of people I want to work with and the values that are important to me. And those are things that, I really will not compromise on moving forward.
And so when you're building this team, a team of people and brands, like what are you looking for now? Because I think that a lot of our listeners are age groupers, and so they're not sponsored and they want to work with the same kind of team, even if they're paying for it, which it sounds like you are too. And so what do you look for when you're like, okay, I need the best gear, I need the best people? What kind of qualities are you reaching out to?
I'm very performance driven, and I think as women, we're so oftenly like pinpointed, right? We can only be one thing, like we're the mom, or we're hyper competitive, or we're serious, or we're whatever. And I think that I like ride the line of this duality, right? Of being super competitive and focused on winning and performance, and then also like really caring about people and the sport and trying to like leave the sport a little better than I found it, and advocating for equity for women. And so I try to like manage those two things as best as I can when I'm working with other people. And so part of it is right, choosing equipment that fits me and that is fast and aerodynamic and that I love, that like feels good when I'm using it. And the other part is like, how are they supporting other athletes? How are they supporting women? How do they speak to me in meetings? Who is on the call? Like this year with Sun God, actually, when we were first negotiating, I opened up my Zoom or whatever for my initial meeting with them, and it was 5 women on the call. And they asked me, what do you want? Like, how can we help you perform better and feel better as a woman in sport? And I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And I think it really inspires me when, there are women at the table when I'm having these phone calls. Because I think, I think that they make really good leaders. Mm-hmm. And I think they can ultimately serve athletes like me and athletes who want to perform like me really well.
Okay, let's shout out some of these brands who have made the cut. Can you name a few of the women who've been very supportive in the sponsor realm?
Yeah, I've been so lucky to work with such amazing women who are athletes themselves or who've been involved with sport for a long time at a high level and now are in the business sphere and really make a point of lifting up other women and pulling them to the top as they reach new heights in the business world. And some of my favorite people to work with are Celeste Lorenzo from The Feed, Beth McKenzie at Win Republic, Naomi Clarkson at Wahoo, and Maria Ortega at On. I just feel so supported and I feel valued both in and out of my performances. And I think that goes such a long way when we're trying to achieve at the highest levels and make a difference in our respective sports.
Okay. And what about sponsors that you've turned down because your values don't align with theirs? Has that happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one that I can think of specifically, I feel very strongly about, who I associate with. And I think that who we identify with and associate with says a lot about who we are, and we become who we spend time with. And, I would never have a country or a company, written across my chest that is on the human rights watch list, specifically for the way that they treat women. I think when you're trying to perform optimally, it's not just like you're given a piece of equipment and like go do your thing. So much of what we do is, how I can contribute to their marketing plan and how we will work well together and how we're going to develop product and get faster. Like I'm not an island, right? Just like playing triathlon by myself. It's a whole team of people with these brands who want me to promote something for them. And like, I'd like to think I'm a pretty authentic person and like, I'm not a good liar. And so I'm learning that I really need to believe I need to believe in the stuff that I'm using and also the people who are making it or building it.
You are a very high profile mom in the sport. And I actually, in 2022 after you won, when I had a really good race for me too. It was actually my best Kona finish. I finished 13th, and
That's
I was
awesome.
talking to your dad after the finish line. It was so nice. He came and like found me and, you know, congratulated me. And he was also so psyched for you. And he was like, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, Chelsea's the world champion. And he's like, yeah, and she's a mom. And I mean, it was just, he was so psyched. And I just remember this moment. And again, he made me feel really good about me, but it was, I don't know, it was a very cool moment. And you were the second mom to win the Ironman World Championships after Natasha Badman.
Yep.
It does sound like that probably influences a lot of your racing. And where does that come from? Does it come from your family? Is it just how you've always been?
You know, my mom is pretty amazing herself, and she went to med school when I was 1 and had my brother during med school, and then, you know, built this very successful, you know, career for herself while raising 2 young kids. And my dad was oftentimes our primary caregiver. And so I got to see this parenting dynamic and very supportive dynamic that was definitely not traditional then. And I think that's, you know, informed my approach to life. And of course, like the hardworking part, but also believing that I can do 2 things really well at once, and also choosing a partner who is all in on my goals. I think anyone who's met my husband, Steve, knows like what a champion he is of me, and like for women in sport in general. He's just like he's all in and has so much belief in what I'm doing. And I think believes in the impact of what we're all doing and how important it is. And like that, this wouldn't be possible without him.
After you've won Kona, what still fires you up?
Yeah, I think when you win a big race like Kona, especially like in the way that I did at the time in my career that I did, like it was so unexpected. Now I want to do it like for me and in my own way, and when it is expected. And like I also have a lot of missions outside of sport I want to take them on, but
can you give us a hint? I mean, we've seen you in Oceanside when you finished second there. I know you donated your prize money. And is it that kind of a, I mean,
I think that we're like potentially gonna put on an event next year, which will be a charity project, and then potentially like starting our own nonprofit regarding like maternal health and that mission. So TBD, watch this space.
Yes, no, we're anxiously going to be watching. And of course, like all of us here at Feisty will, you know, want to support in ways we can.
Thank you.
If you want to come back for the launch.
Oh, I do.
Just say,
please.
There's an open invite. But talking about commentating, and hopefully you're all commentating in Dubai. What has that been like? You were able to commentate in Las Vegas, and I know you went to Las Vegas not knowing you had that as a job, but you were able to get that. I heard really, really good feedback.
Thank you.
Which was, I mean, yeah, was cool. And then I watched men's Kona, and I did hear you on there commentating, which was just really neat. I mean, it was very neat because you had such specific knowledge of what some of those athletes are feeling, because you have been there and you've won, and you've also finished 6th. And so you've had different races there, but you have run very, very well on that very difficult run course. And so I think it was fun, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts were.
I mean, I think similar to probably how you would feel in a commentating situation. You don't know how much you have stored up here in your brain until you're talking about it in that environment. So it was a great experience. Obviously, like I care so much about the sport and realize that I'm more of a fan than I had thought, I guess. I do follow quite closely. And so it was cool to see the dynamics of the race play out from that perspective, and fun to explore, you know, another skill or work on another skill outside of racing. I think like so many of us are multifaceted and have other abilities outside of just racing fast. So it was really fun.
So before you have to get contracted to actually speak and be neutral, we have you on here where you are not, you know, I feel like you still have free reign right now. How do you think this race in Dubai could play out?
I mean, I think it's going to be the Taylor Nib show for on the women's side. I don't see anybody. I don't necessarily see anybody upsetting her. I'd love to see a great Ashley Gentle run battle. It kind of pissed me off a little bit how they were talking, that Jack was talking about another athlete being the new best runner in the T100. I'm like, Jack, Ashley Gentle has won like 4 or 5 of these races, has been here for a long time, and is proven. Like, let's not get so ahead of ourselves. So I'd love to see Ashley have a great race, and it'll be interesting to see what happens kind of in that top 10 area. Some people maybe overcooked themselves a bit this season, chasing all sorts of different races and series. So
It's
interested to see how that plays
so
out.
hard to stay healthy. I'm like,
even with the travel.
I know the travel is tough. Like that is definitely tough. And it's gonna be really hot. I mean, it is gonna be very hot. I'm a fan of the sport. I watch a lot of these, and very often it doesn't play out how I think. But I'm glad we have you on the commentary, because I do think sometimes the commentary are very quick to write people off. And it's like, no. These are endurance sports, like experience matters, and crazy things can happen. When you mentioned,
and isn't that what we loved in Kona this year, right? Like experience matters, as it turns out.
Yeah, it was very cool. And I mean, it is. I loved watching it, and I had so much respect for every single person in that race, and whatever, regardless of what day they had. So when you look ahead to 2025, I mean, obviously you're not at 100% health right now, but is Kona the goal? Is like women's Kona, I mean, is that your North Star?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Christmas for me. I really live for it. I had a lot of FOMO this year, not being out there, even though there was no scenario in which I would be out there since the women weren't competing. But yeah, I live for it. I can't wait. I love the build up and the preparation and everything that goes into delivering on that one day.
And what kind of battle would you like? I mean, I remember in 2022 watching you run down Ali'i, and I was like, oh my God. Like, it's like, there's certain things, like, I feel like I'm someone who can sometimes put together a good run, and I'm always like channeling certain things I've seen. Like, there's like you in that moment, Tamara Jewett's another one, like just how you all run. Like, you can tell you're going hard. You can tell you're going hard. And it's like very inspiring, even when I'm in the race. But like, what kind of, like, do you have certain race scenarios? Like, is there like a time where you're like, okay, I'm like running down Taylor Nib kind of thing? Is that like a dream scenario?
Man, I don't think it would be very PC for me to get into like my dream scenarios and vendettas playing out on the Queen K or anything. But I continue to work on being an athlete who can bring all 3 sports together on one day and have different weapons in different ways to use.
Okay.
So
I like
hoping
that.
to be ready. Well, not hoping. I'm working to be ready for anything.
Chelsea, it's been so cool to catch up with you. Thank you so much. Congratulations on a great season. I feel like sometimes we like aren't able to look at the full picture, but I'm like, holy cow, what an incredible season that you put together with, you know, Ironman win and podium at the World Championship, and just really, really dealing with all the ups and downs of sports and being a great role model for all of us. And then the commentating, we love hearing you in the booth. So good luck to you in Dubai with that. Get on there. If you know, I don't know if they need like a letter of recommendation if my name carries much weight, but I'll say as a viewer, you know, we appreciate your input on the commentary team. But and thank you for coming on here.
It's such a pleasure. More female voices are never a bad thing. And I so appreciate what you do. And it's been so fun seeing you on the circuit this year. Hopefully more in 2025.
Yes, I know. I'm trying, you know, I'm getting that motivation for the comeback. So
yeah, you got this.
It was fun. But thank you so much, Chelsea. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
Alyssa, Chelsea said she thinks Dubai this weekend is going to be the Taylor Nib show. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh man, Haley. I mean, just for the sake of like excitement, I would love it not to be. I mean, I don't mind if Taylor wins, right? But I would love for someone to be in the mix with her. And so, you know, I do have to hope that someone like an Ash Gentle or a Julie Darren, right, might be in the mix with her and be a little like surprising. It's a different kind of distance. You know, I don't know, we've seen Taylor Knibb all the time. It doesn't matter really the distances and things. Like she is so good across the board at all of these races that she does. But I would love for the excitement factor, I would love to see it not be. But I do think there's a high likelihood that it could be.
Do you want to do podium picks? I feel like we could do 1, 2, 3. There's no dark mare in a 20-person race.
Definitely no dark mare.
Do you have some?
I think those are my 3. I think I'm gonna go Julie Darren with the win, Taylor Knibb, Ashley Gentle.
Okay. I'm going Taylor Knibb with the win. I am a huge Taylor Knibb fan, and I just think she's had enough time since the Olympics. Like I think she kind of like went into Ibiza. I don't think that was the best Taylor Knibb we've seen. I think that this format is so good for her, and I think she wants this win. So I'm going to say Taylor Knibb. I'm actually going to go with Annie Haug for second. Ooh. Because I think Annie has had too much bad luck, and she deserves some better luck. And I just think she still had that 802 incredible Ironman early this year. People are tired. Totally. She can handle it. She's an endurance athlete, and you know, it's just things have to go a little bit more her way. She also does very well in the heat, and I think it's going to be really hot. And then I will go with Ash Gentle for third, another athlete who does very well in the heat. And it's been a little bit of a longer season for her, but she went back home to Australia, and I just think she's reset and has won like so many of these races. As Chelsea mentioned, she knows how to do the 100K distance. So it's going to be fun. It's going to
be fun. And I did see Lucy Charles Barkley is not racing, but she is on the commentary team. So that'll be fun to hear her. I love getting, you know, the professional opinions of female athletes on the teams during the race. I think it makes such a difference just to hear kind of their perspective and what they're saying. I don't know, Haley, if you were to pick like a podium for commentating, what do you think it would be? Like, who do we think?
Well, it depends. It depends on the race, but I think for the T100 distance, like it is such a new distance, but Lucy and Chelsea are athletes who have been on the podium for these races. And so having their like specific knowledge is so valuable. I would actually love to see, like Hannah Al-Nabusi, who's an athlete that we interviewed from the UAE, who knows like specific Dubai experience. I'd love to see her on the commentary team. I do think she's working, you know, in some respect. I don't know if she's on the commentary team, but I think she would be fantastic. And I do love it when Mirinda Carfrae, I think Mirinda Carfrae does a good job, and she might not have specific T100 experience, but she has been able to do a lot of really big races and understands the pressures that go into that. And so yeah, I want an all women's commentary team though. That's like the bare minimum for the women's race.
Well, again, that race will be at 1:30 a.m. Eastern, streaming on the PTO app, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think also on PTO's YouTube, you can find it. So should be able to find it, but it'll be exciting. And this is, you know, big bonuses for the year end. This race is the only race that can fit that 4th point slot, and that can, it's double points. So there'll be a big shakeup too in those rankings, and it'll be fun to see who makes the big money. That will be very, very exciting.
Totally. And Haley, enjoy your trip to Arizona. Have fun coaching and cheering and spectating. I think it's great. You know, I obviously wish you were commentating or participating in Dubai, right?
When I heard Lucy's commentating, I was like, how cool would it be if I was like had a good swim?
I know.
Well, no. Like if I had a good swim and then she got to commentate on my swim, I was like,
yeah,
I mean, it's a little scary, but I don't want her to critique me. No, I'm just kidding. Please critique me. Tell me how to be faster. But I just think, no, it's going to be very, very exciting. I just think I'm glad that they are getting involved somehow. It's so hard to stay healthy in this sport, as Chelsea and I chatted about. But hopefully I come away from this motivated to get myself healthy and back at it for 2025.
Yes. Have fun in Tempe, Haley, and I'll talk to you next week.
Bye, Alyssa. You've been listening to the IronWomen podcast hosted by Haley Chura and Alyssa Godesky.
IronWomen is a production of Feisty Media and is edited by Lydia Russell and produced by Ella Natition.
Head to livefeisty.com to find more podcasts, stories, and fresh perspectives.
Thanks for listening.